Hi everyone, my name is Prakriti. Welcome back to the Millennial Duo. Today's video is a special one. I'm going to share my own experience of how I got a sponsored job in the UK after my masters. So this video should be helpful for all those people who want to come to the UK as an international student and then want to land a skilled visa job after their masters. I'll be sharing my own experience and also some tips at the end of the video. So, I wanted to start by telling you a little bit about what I was doing before I came to the UK for my master's. As you might know, Nishant and I were both in Delhi. So, I went to university in Delhi and I studied English literature over there, which was my bachelor's degree. At that time, I was pretty clear that I wanted to go into journalism. So, after University of Delhi, I decided to go for IIMC and do an English journalism diploma, and that was a 1 year long diploma, after which I started working full time as a journalist in print. After about a year in journalism, I decided that it's not really for me. So I slowly started transitioning to publishing. And I found that I could still continue to use my skills of writing, editing, communications, and all of that, but in a separate industry, which was not journalism. So I spent a few years working in different type of publishing. So I've worked with the government of India. I've worked with private publishers in India as well, who make school level textbooks. Then I also worked in Oxford University Press, and I was working for the academic text. So I sort of got exposed to the higher education sector when I was there. After that, in about 2021, I decided that I can use my skill set and work in a proper comms role. So I looked for a role in the non-profit sector, and I started working for their comms, and it was primarily content. So I was writing a lot, I was creating newsletters for them, and it was a lot of content creation around their comms and also a little bit of strategy. But by then I decided that to get ahead in this field, and I knew by then that this is something that I enjoyed because I have already tried journalism, I've tried publishing, and I finally decided that comms is something I do enjoy. So I decided that I need to get a master's degree in this. I had already done a distance learning master's degree from India, but I thought that I needed something with more practical teaching and something that can actually give me the skills to just enter the workforce, just get right into it immediately after my master's, which is why I started looking for master's courses in the UK. After doing a lot of research, I zeroed in on one specific course, which was at Leeds Beckett University, their PR and strategic communications course. This is primarily because I already had so many years of experience, and this was definitely not an entry level course, and it was very, very practical. So, most of the work is group work, there are no written examinations, it's all studies, analysis, presentations, and that sort of thing. So, I decided to go for it. And that's how I ended up in UK for my masters. Very soon after I arrived in the UK for my master's, I started applying for part time roles in my field. I was certain that I only wanted to do a part time job in content or communications or marketing or a related field, because I knew that this could help me get a job later on after my master's. So I started applying to a lot of places where they were hiring part time, and after a couple of months I managed to get a part-time job as an editorial assistant at a digital content agency which is based out of Leeds. So my main work was editing and writing a lot of content that is for the web, and it was all very SEO focused content for the digital arena, and just a lot of writing and a lot of editing, and that actually really helped me get my actual job because I did get some UK work experience, so I got to know what it's like to work in an environment in the UK. And it was also part of my course as well, because one of the modules was a work placement, which I opted for. And this I could use my part time job for that module as well. So that was one of the things I did. The other thing that I did was, which I feel is very important for anybody who's doing their masters in the UK, is that you really need to engage with your course. I knew that I'm here for one specific reason, is to get my master's degree. I did want to learn something. And if you really keep yourself engaged with the course, there is actually a lot that you can learn. And my course especially I enjoyed a lot because there was lots of hands-on learning. So there were lectures, but there were also workshops and seminars, and it was a lot of self study and research and analysis and a lot of things that you had to do on your own. Another thing that I did was to be very, very active on LinkedIn. So, in the communication sector in the UK, most of the people who work here are very, very active on LinkedIn, and they keep sharing their experiences or tips or industry news and all of that. And that was actually something that our lecturers also suggested, that you need to be very, very active on LinkedIn and start networking. So that was also a big part of the UK work culture, is that you really need to network. And part of my course, one of the lecturers used to run PR Student Creator Award, and I consistently created content on LinkedIn for a few months. Every week I used to put one piece of content. It could be something I learned or some observations or anything, some nostalgia bit, anything that is appropriate for LinkedIn. And at the end of the year, I actually won that PR Student Creator Award of the Year, which is something that my potential employers actually noticed, because that did come up during my interview as well. So definitely being active on LinkedIn helped. Now let's move on to the actual application process. So the role that I wanted to apply for was the Alumni Engagement Officer role at Leeds Beckett University. I was just scrolling on LinkedIn one day and I saw it on the university's LinkedIn page, actually, that they had shared that role. And I just made a mental note to myself that tomorrow morning I'm going to spend a good time amount of time on this and apply properly, not just on a whim. The application process was actually very, very lengthy. The form was very lengthy. So there is a job description document that you need to download, and then there are a lot of criteria mentioned in that. And for all of those, you have to mention how you fulfill each and every criteria and whether you have each of those skills. And this, you just have to write those answers based on your past experiences, based on what you've learned on your course and all of that. And there are some questions also in there, that have you been in this sort of environment before, or have you done this sort of problem solving before? So you have to think of examples from your past experiences and fill out all those answers. Once I had finished that application and submitted it, I got an email from the HR about 2 or 3 weeks after that, saying that I need to come in for an interview. And they gave me about a week before the interview. So the email mentioned very clearly how many people are going to be on the interview panel, who they are, and also that I needed to prepare a presentation on a specific topic for 10 minutes. So I took a lot of time. I thought about the presentation. I researched a lot into the role. I researched a lot into what sort of things that a person in that role could do. And actually, after I had created my presentation and some talking points, I sent it to a couple of my lecturers as well to get their opinion and get their suggestions. And they gave me a couple of very, very valuable tips and suggestions. And that really helped with my presentation. So after the interview, I had to wait to hear from the HR if I have an offer or not. Now, I knew that the university does have the sponsor license, but there was no mention of this on the actual job description for the role which I had applied for. So I didn't know if they would sponsor or not, but I still wanted to try and see if I am able to clear an interview in the UK. Finally, after a few days, I received an offer from the HR, and it came with all the documentation and all of that. And I had to accept it and send it to them. After which, the HR representative called me and asked me that whether I wanted to work on the PSW visa or whether I would like to be sponsored by the university, because they do have a license. So that was a big relief for me, because I had decided that I will not apply for a PSW visa, and I only wanted to work on a job where I could be sponsored by the employer. And so it worked out perfectly for me. So once all of that was agreed upon with the university that I would be applying for the skilled worker visa, then the sponsor or the employer has to issue a letter that they submit to the home office, and they also give to you for your application, and which has specific numbers and information that you need to put in the application. So I applied for the visa on my own based on the letter that the university provided, and it had all of those details which I needed for the application. There is the option of applying for a 3-year visa or a 5-year visa. And I went for the 3-year visa because I first want to stay here for 3 years and see if I like the country, if I like the job, if I like everything about living here and working here. Once I made the application, me as well as my employer were hoping that the visa would arrive in 2 to 4 weeks, but it took 16 long weeks to arrive. However, the good part is that if you are in the UK and transitioning from one visa to another, which in my case was student to skilled worker visa, you can start working with your employer without actually receiving the visa based on your application number. Here are my top 5 tips for anybody who wants to work in a sponsored job in the UK. First is, when you're coming to the UK for your masters, get some work experience in your home country before you arrive here, between your bachelor's and your masters. Trust me, that is going to help you a lot because the master's level here is quite advanced. Secondly, when you're here and trying to get a part time job, try to get a job that is in your chosen field and related to your master's course. That will also definitely help you get a job after you complete your master's. The third thing is, try to download the list of sponsors from the government's website and then apply only to those companies so that you narrow down your options and also the industry in which you want to work. Another thing is that you should customize your applications as per the job description mentioned on the website. All the job descriptions in the UK are available on the website, put out there by the employer. So that should be very, very easily available. And your cover letter or your online form, whatever you're filling for that particular application, should be customized. And my last tip is that start applying for full time skilled worker jobs as early as possible. Don't wait until the end of your course to start applying because your visa would end pretty soon after you submit your master's dissertation. I hope you like the video and I hope you find these tips and my own journey helpful. Let us know in the comments if you have any more question or send us a DM on Instagram at the Millennial Duo.